All right, we got the stream going again. Let's see if this actually works.
Alrighty, we'll check.
Wow, the software isn't lagging up to crap. So that's
Yeah,
one thing.
seems to be working. Oh wait! I haven't checked. I have to go back to your channel.
Seems to be working.
I refreshed. I refreshed. I refreshed the old stream and like things. And you said like good things about how it doesn't seem to be glitching, and I was like, yeah, it seems to be working. I did that thing that I described in the comment.
I refreshed.
Oh shit.
Oh boy.
Okay. Yes, the stream is working though. I heard, like, I had my volume all the way up, and I just got yelled at by myself. So
what you were saying?
I can't hear you right now, though.
You can't hear
I
me?
can see your.
Oh
see your
crap!
lips moving.
Seriously? Really? Oh crap!
No. Maybe cycle your. Is that? Wait, no, that doesn't do it. Is it cycling up the mic?
Mana do. Mana do.
Oh, I'm so stupid. I'm so sorry. You know what happened?
What happened? Did you mute the stream?
No, it's worse. Okay. Okay, this is so dumb. God, this is incredible. So basically, I was talking about how, oh yeah, the stream was working. Yeah, it's working. Because what happened was I turned on the stream. I went to your accounts, turned on the stream, and I got yelled at by myself really loud. Like I just heard me because my volume was all the way up.
Uh-huh.
So I heard myself extremely loudly, and I had turned it all the way down. So I turned the volume off, and I couldn't hear you anymore. But it wasn't you not making noise. It was me, like, my reflex of turning all the volume all the way down. Like, I was like, I can't wait. I see his voice. I see his lips moving. What's going on?
I see his voice! I didn't know. Wow, that's impressive. Yeah. You can see my voice.
Yes. It really is, yeah. It really sucks when I go to a concert. It ruins the experience. There's just sound waves everywhere. I can't actually see the artist. Just voices in the air. No. But yeah, so that was...
Sounds like you read a poem about that. Voices in the air.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Yes.
It'd be like that Magic School Bus episode. Have you seen the one about sound?
This will be a poem. I'll write a poem. Voices in the air. Spiders in my hair. I gotta go to my lair. I don't know.
Quick!
It's like, really, this guy needs to be on antipsychotics. Holy crap.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
This is horrible. I love it.
Yeah.
So while you're talking, I'm just going to go and doodle here. Because nobody on the stream is going to see...
Stairs. I'm trying to just think of more crazy things I can say.
Oh, there's plenty of normal things you can say, too.
Oh, yeah. But I was just, a poem to my psychiatrist saying, No.
Oh, that was an interesting thing about James Dowling's comment on your answer. I was notified because you brought me up in the comment thread as well. Yeah, I think it does make sense though, because once people have a reputation of telling the truth, it's an awful lot easier to take what they say at face value.
Right, and that's what trust is almost pretty much. Like it's quite close to trust. Once someone does something, when they prove over and over again, it's the scientific method, pretty much. Like the more
it's the way a scientific theory winds up getting to become understood as being a.
Yeah.
I mean, it's falsifiable, obviously.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
for sure.
But it is still.
But I'm not
gaining validity with time. Yeah.
Right. I'm not like, okay, if I let go, is it gonna fall down? Like. I'm not doing that. Like it's just like when you're first talking to someone, quite a bit of mental energy would be not quite a bit, but more mental energy would be expended. Like, is what they're saying correct? Do I agree with them? Like I know when I'm first meeting someone, I'm like very like I go into like a flow state, like listening to what like everything about them. Like I want to hear I just want to understand like how they are, and I pick up a lot about people like right away because I'm just enraptured, like just very focused in
and you're cogitating on
analyzing everything.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And but I'm not doing that. Once I know someone and I trust someone, after a while, like I'm not doing that anymore. That would be pointless. If I was doing that anymore, it would be kind of like indicative of some sort of mental disorder. I think, like some inability to trust.
Maybe, or there are some people that can't be trusted. That you have to pay attention
That's
to every
true.
single word that they say. That's
All right, but I'm saying like if it's someone who I should be able to trust by now, like it's like if I was still like if I was scrutinizing all the things you said or something like that. The thing is, I wasn't. Even the first time I met you, I had read enough of your stuff on Quora and talked to you in messages that like that wasn't even like a thing.
Yeah. Then you
like,
realize,
wow.
oh, the IRL person is congruent with the person that I met online.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Who would have thought? It's someone. Yeah, yeah. It's exactly. So yeah, but yeah, but I don't like I think about like the things you'll be saying. I think about them, and I do check like eventually. But I tend to agree at first, like, and I'm not an agreeable person. I'm someone who's quite skeptical in general, and I've noticed this with like many of my friends as well, who are like my friend here he's a skeptical guy, and he's someone who likes to argue, and he's an ENTP debater type, so he's gonna play the devil's advocate and stuff like that. And regardless, though, like when we're speaking, there's not much debate going on. It's quite a bit of that makes sense. I agree with that. Like it's a lot of that because our worldviews end up being congruent in a lot of ways. Just
Yeah,
and so yeah,
and even when our worldviews are different one from another, we at least understand the internal consistencies of the other person's axiomatic
exactly.
system. So it's done.
Exactly.
So you don't wind up having
Mm-hmm.
surprises, or at least unpleasant surprises. They're not
No,
awaiting around the corner every time you're trying to carry on a conversation. Which I suppose is what happens if people connect only on an emotional level too, and they're kind of in tune with one another's emotions. You still don't get surprises, and people feel safe and all the rest of it. In the same way that if people require an intellectual connection and they get it,
right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, I know that once I connect with someone and like we are, let me develop this. When we're like, once we've had enough interaction and there has been this realization, like we like, as you said, like in the axiomatic system, you develop the system they're coming from, whether that be their upbringing, etc., their life experience. That's all those are big roles, etc. And then their personality, those sorts of things. And then like the difference, like there are people who like any sort of differences, like they're not very tolerant of. Like for example, like I have friends, quite a few friends who are on the autistic spectrum. Like it doesn't like it means like it doesn't to me. It's actually a thought that I don't have. It brings stuff to the table with that neurological difference. And so yeah, it's not quite like, oh, we have like perfectly congruent worldviews. We have a perfectly homogenous outlook on the world. It's more of like I respect and trust his input from his position, not and the differences in our position bring that brings more to the table. It brings more, it brings a diversity of thought that is very welcomed. So yeah. But there are people who really aren't so tolerant of different of diversity of thought, and it's quite evident in like the media as well, unfortunately.
oh yeah, it's actually kind of, well, I think in certain ways it's kind of scary.
It's well, it's extremely scary
That people can't somehow put themselves into a different axiomatic system and understand how it goes, because then the world is scary. Then you wind up becoming increasingly tribalistic. I mean, not that tribalism isn't in and of itself a bad thing, but the fact of the matter is, the U.S. has had a civil war in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been over issues of similar importance. Now, if we look at the destructive capacity of man compared to the destructive capacity of man a century and a half ago, well,
yeah, there you go.
It's like that. It's like that's not something to be taken too lightly.
And it's really interesting, and it's something like as a kid, it's something like it's putting yourself in someone else's shoes, right? Like it's that act of just, hey, what's going on with this person? Someone could be an asshole to me, and like a real dick to me, and I will still try to understand. Like, I might be pissed. I'm not gonna like retaliate and send it back. That's just not what I'm gonna do. I think that's wrong. But I will try to understand their position, and I'll try to, like, I don't have to like it, but I will try to rationalize why they're doing these things, because people don't act in some, incredibly like abrasive way for no, like, it comes out of somewhere. Like, there's some reason behind this. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there are such things as bad reasons, and usually when someone has a really bad reason for it, it's just someone I avoid them.
Well, then it's very easy to lose respect for that person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I do lose respect. Yeah.
It's like if a person goes and reacts in an inappropriate way for a stupid reason, it's like, well, is this person really a good person ever? Is this person even safe?
Right.
Like, is this person going to be like? Can I trust that if push comes to shove, that this person is going to be dependable?
Right.
I mean, yeah. And in the case of, for example, Tony, who started, just throwing rocks in random directions when there was a bunch of rocks coming when picking potatoes, it's like, well, no.
I can't trust that person, right?
It's like if someone's going to start shooting nails or throwing rocks or doing something just off of being emotionally set off, not even necessarily targeted at you, but that could potentially put you in the line of fire, well, that's going to give you pause when it comes to choosing to spend time with a person.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I know Captain Obvious just showed up, but
it's okay. He's sometimes needed. And yeah, like if I think of like, so like my principle is like I respect everyone until they prove that like I shouldn't respect them, and I'm not gonna, if I don't respect someone, that doesn't mean I'm gonna treat them poorly. It means I'm gonna try to avoid them, and I'm not gonna trust them with stuff close to me and stuff that I care about.
Yeah.
And like. But yeah, like this was a thought I had when I was like, because I realized people were doing different things than me, and I realized that. I realized like we were not thinking in the same way. It was obvious, and what I just thought, I was like, well, there's a reason. One axiom that I came up with when I was really little. And it was just something I felt like had to be true. I couldn't disprove it. I was like, well, there has to be a reason for people to be doing, like, there is a reason for everything. Like, I just think, like, you can, it may be hard to find that reason, but I think there is a reason people, oh, this person is doing this in this way. Well, there is a reason they're doing that. It might not make sense to me. I might be completely baffled, but that doesn't mean that there's some sort of like, there's something wrong with that person. I just think it means they're different than me, and there's something outside of some difference in our lives, or some difference in the way the way we are, that precipitated this difference that doesn't make sense to me. And I from a young age I tried to figure out that difference. I was like, okay, what is the reason this is happening? And I got better and better as I got older at figuring out okay, why are these people doing these things? For example, last year, this girl, like, I'm not someone who makes enemies in real life. In fact, and like on Quora too, like I have never had a negative comment on any of my things. I know I might say that and someone's going to go write something, but like at least, like, I have not had, like, I'm not someone who makes, like, I try to respect people and I try to be nice to people, and And in general, like I've made friends throughout my life and stuff. I've never really had an issue with that.
It's interesting because I don't have the problem in interpersonal interaction like face to face. I only ever have the problem interacting online. But
that is interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's probably just maybe just like INTJ writing style. Caleb, for example, like picks up enemies on every post.
Yeah,
like Caleb, but the way he writes is really strong. Like it's kind of polarizing. I love Caleb's writing, and like he's one of my like if I were to say like favorite contemporary writers, Caleb is up there. Like literally, like I love his writing style. It cracks me up. It's so intelligent, so articulate, and like it's just like really gripping, really good writing, and the way he says things is just so like it's so matter of fact and blunt but articulate, like really well done, and it really incites people. And then people be under his post and say something silly like an objection, and he'll respond in the same day, like with the same style, and it's so funny to watch. Like it's so funny to read through his comments, and it's just it's just him. It's generally like, yeah, he's not like the person didn't, Caleb's position as well. Like Caleb is a deep thinker. I know this sounds like I'm just, but yeah, in general, like so for example, in conversation with Caleb, it'll be us three. He does a whole lot of thinking. He's not a big, like, he doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't he doesn't say a lot. He doesn't think out loud. He does a lot of deep internal thought, and he develops his world, and the structure that the structure of his world is very well developed and very thought through, and he makes adjustments to it. Like I see him making adjustments all the time. He's thinking about how it fits into how new information fits into how he understands the world. So so naturally he has these. The reason he writes strongly is because he's thought about this a lot. Like he's not someone who just, this is their stupid opinion that just feels.
But then you get someone who hasn't thought things through to the same extent that he has. Well, you haven't thought of this. You haven't thought of that. It's like, yes, I have thought of that. That was one of the first things that came to my mind, and this is how I came through it. The thing is, I don't have the patience. I personally don't have the patience to deal with it. It's like, yes, I did think of that. You stupid moron. Period.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, it's so funny, right? It's kind of like, it reminds me of what I would say, like, like some scientists, like let's say Newton, and he has some theory, like, let's say his laws of motion or whatever. Like it's like someone trying to find a counterexample to the laws of motion or something. Like obviously it's not that extreme, because of course Caleb, there's of course fallibility. I haven't really seen anything that I disagree with that he's written, but I'm sure there's something. But no, it's like someone who's really like almost mathematically proven the things they're thinking about. Like they've really thought about it, and they've gone through the logic. And there's someone like, well, but like, if I went to like Australia and I threw the apple, would it fall on the ground? Like I don't know. Like, can you like? It just sounds stupid, right?
But that's the way that lots of people, that when they're presented with an idea, like all gift wrapped with a bow on top, they sometimes find it difficult to accept the whole package, and so they struggle with it. And lots of people, they can't actually think without having excrement come out of their mouth.
Without fallacies, yeah.
Well, or just having excrement coming out of their mouth.
That too.
Like people that need to talk through their thoughts or feelings or whatever.
Right.
And then you run into that whole mess where, like, their fifis need to be validated or something, and then and then if you don't validate their fifis, if you simply say, well, you're making a feelings-based argument, learn to freaking read, then if your goal is effective communication as opposed to simple dissemination of an idea, you already lose, because then people are just like, I'm just not going to listen to that guy, he's a jerk, regardless of whether the jerk is right or wrong. And that's mostly my problem. Like, and I would say that you and Caleb, just in general, do a better job of having the patience to go through and explain something. Whereas I and I'm going to say there's not even necessarily a consequence of the conversation that I'm in. Like if I'm in an interpersonal conversation with somebody, I will go and explain something. If I'm face to face with somebody and there's a misunderstanding, I'll go through it. But if it's something that I've said online, and if it's something that I've already addressed in some other place, but that's quite easily findable if all you do is, search, for example, Google Matt Linus' opinion on something, and then it will actually show up like a core answer or whatever. It's like I don't want to go and be redundant and say the same thing in every single comment thread. Now I could do what Dennis Pratt does, which is keep a very clearly labeled repository of everything that I've said, and then just refer people to things.
That takes dedication, though. That's not easy.
And I'm not that dedicated because I'm not a retiree.
Right, exactly.
But then now I'm making excuses for myself, right? Like I could, I am, but I could
diminishing returns though.
I could, yeah. Well, now you're making, yeah. Is it worth it? That is a good question, and in many cases I decide that it's not worth it. But if I did at one point decide that it was worth it, like if somehow I were able to just, get paid to do Q&A or get paid to debate or get paid to do something like that, if I didn't wind up having to go and devote my time to something else, I would love it. And I would be able to address people's arguments one at a time. But if with a certain amount of time in a day, I need to actually devote time to, stuff that, actually, is congruent with my life's goals in the short term, which is namely making certain that we actually have bread on the table, etc. Roof over your head, food on the table, and so on. Now, I would love to be able to just do that full time, but currently the means don't exist for me, and currently I'm not completely financially independent, so.
Right, exactly. So you're exactly. You have things that take you have priorities is the way to say it. And
I wish I could prioritize speaking the truth in a medium that can reach a lot of people. But I need to be selective in that regard now.
Exactly.
And when I'm a retiree, sure, I'll go and I'll schedule freaking debates. I'll go and I'll drag one or two of my kids along and be like, I'm tired of debating. Here you go.
There you go. Oh yeah. Oh man, especially Johannes.
Oh boy,
They might get mad though. Who knows?
Which one? No, my kids or
the people? No, the people too. Yeah, the people arguing with you. ENTPs have a way of like. Because the thing is, I use FE in arguments as well. Like, if someone is, like, I do, like, I'll still be saying things completely, like, what I'm saying is true, but I'll start being a little sarcastic, and I'll use humor to poke holes in their argument. I was like, oh, that makes sense, because then this would happen, right? That would make a lot of sense, huh? And, like, that, like, pisses people off a lot, because then they see that what you said proves them wrong, and also you're being condescending, like,
you're being cocky, being condescending, you're being hilarious, you're basically being the whole package, not just...
Right, and then they get flustered.
Yeah, not just the logos, but you also have some pathos, and then the weird ethos that you get from, like, being, almost a comedian in a certain sense.
Right, and then they're just, and then they get flustered, and they're trying to flop this less and less coherent, and their arguments become more and more feelings-based. And you win. I mean, you've won.
Like, who's the dude that writes Dilbert? He's very much that kind of a guy too. I don't know if he's an ENTP, but definitely NT something.
Right, for sure. Oh yeah, there's some funny ass comics, but like, so like, and the difference between me, like, when someone challenges me, I go like. Like, I don't get pissed. Like, okay, I can't get pissed. Like, if what they're saying is ridiculous and even me, like, responding is not going to do anything, then I'll get a little, like, I'm like, God, it's true. Like, I'll still respond, but it won't be, like, a happy response. But in general, like, like there was some comment on, for example, the Einstein's wife thing. Like it was a long time ago. It was the first time
I remember that.
we had a stream and I went over it, and like I got so into like NE mode that all my other functions went away almost. And I wasn't looking at the stream. I was just thinking and looking up, and like I lost track of time. That time. Like no, like he had, and this was I knew was an intelligent person. It was an HG person, and so they had their long comment in response to my post, and so I was like, okay. At first, I was like, I didn't have enough time. I was like right before class, so I just spat out some things that I was saying, but then I was like, okay, no, let me really address this. So I went line by line and just why I disagreed with what they were like. I disagreed with so much of what they were saying. There were like lots of like logical like mishaps that were going to happen if what they were saying was true, and I really relished in like it was fun for me to just go through and make like that's like a very ENTP thing. Like we are the debater type. The thing is, I'm not someone who in general likes debate, because debate oftentimes like okay, I've said this before. So I'm in the like the 999 society. Okay, I joined that because it's like $10 a year. So I was like, I want to see what's up. I want to.
And now you haven't paid your dues, and you're still in the Facebook group.
Yep. So now I get the benefits without having to pay again. It's perfect. So yeah, and that's all I want. I don't want the freaking magazine subscription or whatever. Like, no, it's funny. It's an interesting group of people. And someone was like, I said, the group is really politicized. I'm not supposed to like talk about what they talk about in the group, but there's a lot of politics, and it's a lot of like just stuff you'd see relatives post on Facebook. Really, it's like I'm like, yeah, you guys are theoretically brilliant, but like this is not like proving it at all. Like this is just stupid political talk.
How many are actually like liberal, like classical liberal, like libertarian?
There is. It's a little bit less. I haven't like actually like really like gone through and categorized and like done the split. A lot of them seem. I think there's quite a few like libertarians. There's no one on the extremes of any party. That's one thing I have noted. Like they're all moderate, pretty much. They'll have disagreements, and that's the thing is though, like the disagreements. First of all, sometimes they will talk about policy that they definitely don't like fully understand, like the implications of like with economic, like or with politics. There's often things that are like quite hard to debate about without the correct information. And I'm pretty sure, in just looking at the way they're talking about it, the posts they're having, that they don't know like everything about it, and it's kind of an opinion, and it's kind of on guesses, and they're used to being right because they're smart, right? They're 1 out of 1,000, so they're used to being right. So that does happen where someone just gets kind of. Like, it's just the debates, I'm like, this is silly. Like, what you're saying is stupid. Like, this... But they're used to being right because they're smart. Like, they're used to being the smartest person.
And lots of them are just completely unchallengeable by most people around.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened on that core comment. Like, that person was not expecting to be challenged. They deleted their comment. They were not expecting to be challenged. And...
I have to say that though that demonstrates a degree of intellectual maturity to be able to do that after having been challenged.
Yeah, that's true.
Kudos to him for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that is. I agree. And yeah, exactly. Well, in my mind, there's two things, but I'm gonna assume the positive. It could have been like, oh crap, I'm humiliated. Let me just take the comment off so no one knows. Or it could be, oh wait, I was wrong. That person's right. Let me delete it.
Well, here's the thing, right? You can still look at the edit history. You can still look at his edit history and find out what he said.
That's true.
So
yeah, but you go.
No, I'm just saying.
Right.
So it would mostly I would put the positive construct on it, especially given. Like what
I'll go to my... Yeah, right, exactly. I'm going to put the positive construct, because I also assume that people, like, that's one thing that I do. There's not really much logical reason, but I assume they're not, like, doing something I'm not really cynical or pessimistic with people in general.
And one of the things is that winds up being a more healthy way, regardless of whether you're right or wrong. Bringing that attitude toward every interaction, of putting the most positive construct you can figure out based upon the information that you're given.
Yep.
Makes whatever interaction you are going to have
that's
more likely to be the best possible.
Right, and that's the thing is, because here's the thing: if you are wrong and you just assume they're doing right, unless they're in some way interacting in your lives in a way that harms you, like, say he did it. Let's say he did it. He's like, oh god, that guy just humiliated me. Like, screw him. I'm gonna delete the comment. How does it? That doesn't hurt me at all. Me just assuming that he did it out of like, okay, I'm wrong. That just it makes me like, if it makes me feel better. It makes me have a more positive view on him. He's, like, we're not interacting. It keeps my worldview. It keeps it more serene. Like that's how I would say it. Like, I'm not worrying about what these other people are thinking. I'm just, okay, he probably did it because of this reason, and I'm not gonna assume the worst. Like, it does. Assuming the worst about someone, like, I mean, it's the way. I mean, think of our court system, right? Like, we don't assume the person's guilty. No, like, we assume that they're innocent until proven guilty, right? Like, that's. Yeah. And if there's no proof, I'm not going to assume the worst. Like, and that's how I think.
Being the religious dude that I am, I'm actually going to bring up something from what Luther wrote on this very matter.
Okay.
It's you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Well, Luther didn't write that. That's one of the 10 Commandments. It's at least Lutherans and Catholics say it's the 8th commandment, and then other Protestants say, or I think that Anglicans and Episcopalians and Presbyterians also say it's the 8th. But whatever, it's one of the commandments. And some people say it's the 9th because they combine coveting. Whatever. But the answer is, we should fear and love God so that we may not deceitfully belie, betray, or slander, or defame our neighbor, but defend him, think and speak well of him, and put the best construction on everything. So
yeah,
it's interesting that you have what essentially amounts to a religious explanation of a commandment about false witness includes at the very end, and put the best construction on everything.
Yeah.
So I guess being the Christian that I am, I view it as kind of a religious obligation in the first place. But then if you go and you look at the practical benefits thereof, it just kind of matches up. It's like, yeah, well, I can definitely see why Luther decided to give it that particular explanation.
Right. I came to that point of view completely outside of religion. Like, I think the exact same thing. And it just makes the most sense for me to do that. And it's just, it makes my life better, so I'm going to do it. And it makes other people's lives better because I'm not interacting in a shitty way with them because I've assumed something incorrectly. And here's the post, or here's the comment. So I said I had this long post, and it was just talking about random things. The stuff I talked about here, so it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the post, I said one of the main reasons I joined this group was for information on giftedness, but instead I just saw a lot of political posts akin to those of my relatives. I hope I'm not some condition that resulted in the dearth posts regarding our idiosyncrasies and how to cope with them, but maybe because at the age of the group, you guys just figured those things out and they seem trite. I don't know. So yeah, like, it was just full of politics. Like, I saw, there was not even interesting, like, it's better now. I mean, especially, like, because when I was first joining, like, that's, like, when Trump was becoming elected, so it was just, like, a shitstorm.
Everything was a complete and total shit show. It was bad. Every single online platform was a rat fiesta in, like, 2016.
Exactly. Yeah, completely. And so, yeah, like, I kind of, like, hit full, when that was in full swing, and I was like, what the hell is this? And then there was this one old spamming, like, random, like, really not funny, like a picture of a dog or something. I'm like, why would you send this to, like, 999 Society? Like, what is this cute? I know, yeah, the dog is cute. And there was someone under there, like, yes. This was a comment I read, and it was like someone on the post was, "Yeah, the dog is cute, but like, why? Why? This is just you're just spamming the group." So I was like, God, like, what is going on? And sometimes there'd be posts, and like there's members who do like lots of research, and they're up on the forefront of like if the research. The thing is, like, they haven't said anything that I didn't already know through my own independent research, and these people go to seminars and talks and all of those things, but I feel like that information is mostly accessible on the internet. But I digress. Like, anyway, I was like, God, it's just political posts like my relatives. We're not like obviously we have idiosyncrasies, like the overexcitabilities are prominent. I put a post, like most of them didn't know. They were like, okay, so I put a post about like the overexcitabilities and what they are, how many do you have, etc. To what degree, all of these things. And I got such like positive feedback. Like they were so like they're like, oh my God, like this is what's like this is what that is. Like I had no like 72. They're like your post literally this person was 72 years old. You're like your post like made me like my stomach like roll like because like it felt like it hit so close to home that I had no idea like, that these things were like that was why that is. I thought I was just weird, right? And it's important. Like that's important. It's not think like, and I am someone who have like I like to introspect and I like to apply reason to everything. So I do think about these things and I naturally research, but like people oftentimes don't do that. And so, but regardless, so then the person commented on that. They said, the reason we discuss so much politics is when politics go bad, nothing will go right. I'm like, okay. First of all, that response just doesn't like, okay, that doesn't like, that's, yes, this, it's important, but like, there's like, regardless, I'm not gonna poke holes, obviously. It's like it's kind of it's a really trite statement. Oh, nothing will go, if like, it's kind of like vague and it's not very like, so I replied, I said, okay, yes, but I don't see discussing politics in a private Facebook group to be conducive to actual change. Maybe that's just politically dormant, and me speaking. I also find that the posts are often just obviously outrageous, not even contentious, so discussion isn't even stimulated. Look how stupid this is, you guys, sort of thing. When discussion is stimulating and the issue is divisive, I find that values are what separate the opposing sides, and no amount of discussion result in compromise or enlightenment, that further deliberation. Oh yeah.
Could you please check your messages?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't mean to interrupt. But if you could please continue what you were.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, where was I? Okay, so okay, and no amount of discussion will result in compromise or enlightenment, and that further deliberation from both sides entrenches the confines of their ideology. And not only do they hold onto their view more tightly because they've developed it further, but they develop an us versus them mentality towards the other side, which further obfuscates any sort of idea of common ground. In general, I hate debate, but I love open and honest intellectual discussion that starts from the first principles up. I find that the latter is so rarely found that I've given up even trying, and NS seems no different. Let's see. But so, and then the person did not reply to that. But I mean, in general, like when think of okay, so political discussion can be found everywhere, right? Like YouTube comments, like fucking I don't know, even like graffiti, like obviously Facebook, obviously in real life, in person, all over the internet. It's everywhere. Politics is everywhere. It's extremely evident, right? And think of all the political discussions you've seen people have. You've definitely seen an abundant, like they're in abundance. You've definitely seen them, and maybe you've read through a few. Now, now tell me how many of those have resulted. Tell me how many of those have resulted in someone like changing their point of, like changing their view, like I have not seen it happen. Okay, so I'm inclined to think. I'm inclined to think that like it's fruitless, right? For the most part, the types of political discussions you should be having are with people close to you, and they should be deliberate, and they should be not debate. They shouldn't be debaters. Just the point is to win. It should be to find a common ground, to educate yourself, to further your knowledge, further your understanding of something. It should not be to win. Where's the growth in you winning? Oh, you've further developed your argument. The thing is, you can develop an argument. Like, I could develop an incorrect argument really well. Like, I could come up with some bullshit that's obviously not true. Spend enough time telling you it's true. Okay, so yeah, I want to do a quick recap of what I said at the end of the thing. So to catch you up.
Okay.
So yeah, I was in the comment. So I find that values separate the opposing side. No amount of discussion will result in compromise or enlightenment, and that further deliberation from both sides entrenches each deeper within the confines of their ideology. Mm-hmm. And not only do they hold on to their view more tightly because they've developed it further, but they develop an us versus them mentality towards the other side because view is so much stronger, which further obfuscates any sort of idea of common ground. In general, I hate debate, but I love open and honest intellectual discussion that starts from first principles up. I find that the latter is so rarely found that I have given up even trying, and nothing so different. And yeah, so what I was saying, okay, think about how much political debate you've seen on YouTube comments, like some guys with like fucking bananas and like troll faces in their profile pictures, going at it about politics on Facebook and in person, all over. And I was saying, think of how like political discussions are abundant; they're everywhere. Now, think of how many of those discussions you've seen result in someone either changing their opinion or being like, "Oh, I think you are right. Oh, maybe I was incorrect." Think it almost never happens. Like, I think political discussion with random strangers is mostly fruitless. Now, I think political, as far as in a debate style, I think political posts where you detail why you think a certain way, and this is why I think this. Like, for example, the libertarian thing on Quora, I think that's wonderful. That well-developed argument, there's a lot of thoughtfulness, there's obviously people are thinking about it, and it's not just some stupid like fifi, like it's there, there's rhyme or reason, and triple mass society is no different. It's no different. Like, it's just people arguing. They're arguing to win too. They want to win. They don't want. That's what they're doing, is arguing to win, and it literally entrenches people in their ideology. And also, what I also said after that was, you can come up with a bullshit argument and just think of reasons that make it seem right. You can rationalize a whole lot. It's easy to rationalize, especially when you're smart. I argue something that's obviously wrong to someone who knows it's wrong, and they couldn't refute my argument because I could come up with some good reasons why I could make it sound smart and intellectual, and I could come up with logical reasons that may or may not be tangentially related to it. And I could come up with some argument that would.
You can make you can make a soup. Just throw crap in there and stir it up,
right.
And make it.
And people aren't using the things, so it's really like super common. People when they're arguing from their side. So I'm arguing from my position. Are they thinking? They're not thinking about the veracity of what they're saying. They're not thinking, is what I'm saying correct? Is the reason sound? They're saying,
my position is under assault. How do I protect it at all costs?
Yes, exactly. Or how
do I impose this on somebody else?
How do I prove it? Think about it. This has happened to me. It's confirmation bias. This has happened to me before a lot. Maybe not a lot, but definitely a few times. And I'm like, okay, I really need to think about this bias that exists, where I've been told something that's maybe incorrect information, and I didn't understand it. I was like, why is that the case? I've come up with a reason to make sense of it because it did not fit my worldview, but I figure that the person's correct. Yeah, so I figure the person's correct. This happened to me in 9th grade. I made a theorem. I literally made a theorem and talked to mathematicians at the university, and they weren't able to prove me wrong. I was given incorrect information in a book. It was a geometry theorem. And it was having to do with when you have a circle inscribed in polygons, right? And so if you have a circle and it's touching all sides of the polygon, obviously, let's say you have a circle and a triangle, right? It's, I wanted to see the correspondence between the interior angle of the triangle and the arc length intersected, right? So obviously a triangle has 180, not obviously, but a triangle has 180 degree side. So if you have a regular triangle, an equilateral triangle, and you have a circle inside of it, and the circle's touching the midpoints of the triangle, right? So then the arc length intersected is 1/3 of the circle, so it's 120, and it's 60 for the triangle. But I was wondering, how would I do that with irregular shapes? And I could predict exactly with and I want to tackle this problem some other time. Like I'm gonna come back to it because I think I could maybe think of a way to do it. But I ended up coming up with some complex formula, and some complex reasoning, and and it seemed to hold. And I was working off false information in the book. The book was wrong on a certain thing, and I had rationalized it to a theorem. Mathematicians were unable. Like the mathematician I talked to was unable to see anything wrong with it. He's like, yeah, this seems real. Like he's like, yeah, this would be really good for like drill bits and stuff. Like this is like good stuff. Like we can figure those things out right now, but like the way you're doing is like much faster. And my math teacher, nothing. Like I literally was like, okay, and then it's me disappointing myself. Like, wait, it's wrong. It took me finally figuring out. But yeah, I've rationalized things that I thought were true. I'm like, that doesn't make sense? Okay, let me figure out why that is the case. And people do that. But the thing is, they assume that what they're thinking is true. They don't check. That. They're like, okay, so how do I prove it's true? And I come up with the reason after reason after reason. And they've done this on like smart people versus average people, and how well they can argue position. And what they found is that the smart people were no more likely to be correct than the average people, but they were much better at defending their position because they could come up with more reasons. And it being a clever person doesn't exclude you from confirmation bias, or it doesn't exclude you from this phenomenon. So you have to be wary of it, and that's what happened on my comment. I'm pretty sure, like that's what happened on my comment. That person, well, they didn't. What happened is they did realize that what I said was correct, and that what they said was incorrect. So they retracted it. But when they posted that, they posted things that were incorrect, and they put reason behind it. They had reasoning in it. It was just the structure was all wrong. It definitely would not hold up, and there were a lot of holes in it. But they had developed their argument, and they had a lot of reasons, and it was well said. The grammar was great. The vocabulary used, all of that, and they were wrong. But it was wrong. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter how decorated it is, or how nice and how nice it looks. It can be wrong. So yeah, I don't like. Like I'm an ENTP saying that. I like debates when I'm just trying to I like debates when I'm either toying with someone as like it's funny, like it's funny to see them get flustered. I don't care about the intellectual substance of it. It's funny to see someone get flustered over words. That's just how I think. And I like honest intellectual discussion from first principles, because I find that I can make sense of why they're coming from that position. We can maybe compromise. The goal should be, to me, to be some compromise or some resolution of it, like where both sides come out like feeling like they learn something and like they understand other people more. Like I want that and debates are so often. And it's my friend he's an ENTP. He was in debate team. He hated it. He's like, it's just a bunch of bullshit. Like he's like, they used a bunch of underhanded tactics to try to slight you. And
I've worked with people who are on debate teams, and apparently one big thing is to take your argument, talk like an auctioneer, and go as fast as you can through as many points as you can, however good or bad they may be, just in order to go and throw so much crap at the other team that they have to refute.
That they can't respond.
That they can't respond to it all in the allotted time.
My friend said the exact same thing. He said, yeah, one of the tactics to just use so much stuff that they can't possibly develop a response fast enough. I'm like, that's just garbage. Like, what is that? That's so stupid.
It's literally formulate as much crap, because this is not substantial. It is not good debating. It's oh, it's like facts
annoying,
and truth and logic and reason. It does nothing to do with it.
Go by the wayside. Yeah, it's just psychological shit, basically.
And playing to the rules of the debate, which is that you must address all the points that your opponent brings up.
Right. It's literally
it's like,
just.
Well, why would you? It's like if person throws poo, it's like, why do you even need to address that? That's poo. Right. That's poo. That's poo. That's poo.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
poo. You didn't say anything substantial. I mean, if you could do that and just say, hey, in all of these different things, all you've literally done is take an excrement and tried to throw it at the wall and see if it sticks. I mean, is that?
Yeah.
I mean, would people go and say, "Hey, that's a good argument," or would they be like,
"You didn't address what he actually said"?
Why don't the rules have people develop why? I don't know. I don't understand why debate wouldn't be okay. How well developed is their argument? Not how well I feel like it should be argued it shouldn't really be a battle between two people in a direct sense. I feel like it should be so people have and I think a time limit is stupid because I'm sure they're under time constraints, so it makes it really hard for someone to address those things. But it just pisses me off thinking about it the whole debate culture. I've met people from debate that the one as they're pro debaters, they think they're master debaters. Yes, they think they have some sort of higher level of thought and that and they're master debaters and they're condescending and arrogant, and then they're so caught up in the way they think and when something catches them by surprise, this girl was so convinced that I was something to me. Really, she really was, because I was acting ditzy. She was the debate team captain from her school.
Oh boy, that's horrible. But
and I was acting, it was freshman year, and I didn't really want to do all the shit and all the forms I have to fill out, and so I was like, "Oh, can you guys help me? I don't really understand. Oh, how'd you guys do that?" And they, here, give me your computer. Does all the mean work for me. She's like, "How did you get in the honors college?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah. My grades weren't so good, but the ACT was really easy, so I almost got perfect." And apparently they care a lot about that here. Yeah, I just let that look, and it was obvious that she did not do as well as she wanted on the ACT. She instantly went into defense mode. She's the emotional change on her face was so quick. It went from condescending to her contact went down. She started looking at the ground, and she's like, "I took the ACT twice. The first time I took it, I didn't do as well as." She's like, "I got a score. Then I took it again, and I hadn't." She's like, "The first time I took it, and I didn't study, and then I took it again after I'd studied, and I got the same score." And she didn't say her score, but she this sudden change of went from condescending to yeah, exactly. And the thing is, because she was making a lot of assumptions, but these debate people are not. I have not had pleasant experiences with them, because that system, that structure that these debates are happening in is just garbage. It's just bad. That's not how a debate should be. It's I mean, I've said enough on it, but it's kind of just bullshit, and I don't like it. But that's how discussions are. Political discussions, especially any sort of debate you see on the internet. Just next time you're going through debates, just think, okay, how many times? What was a conclusion? Was a conclusion reached? Did they meet a goal? Did someone learn something?
Was anything substantial actually communicated?
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost never, extremely rare. I actually can't even think of one off the top of my head. I've seen plenty of debates, but I can't even think of one where something actually was said. It's it's just shitty. So yeah, I mean, That should say a lot. I don't know. Like, anyone can look at that. Anyone can read that, and read debates, look at the internet, see this sort of thing, with these things in mind, and come to the same conclusion. I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't think someone's going to come, well, actually, and do the debate thing with me. Like, I don't think there's a really easily defensible side on the other. I don't think there's an easily defensible other side to this, really. And yeah, so this. And guess what? The lady who commented that, the reason we talk about politics is because she did not respond to that comment. Like, she didn't. And she has. I've had other posts, and I had 2 posts so far in the group chat, or on the Facebook group, and she responded to the other one with she's like, part of the argument. She's like, it's begging the question. And so she said why, and I was like, well, no, this is what I think happened. I never said that. Like, this is. Okay, so it had to. Okay, so here's what it had to do with. I'll detail a little bit here. It's pretty short. It had to do with as you move towards the equator, IQs tend to decrease a little bit. Like, it's not some huge drop, but in general, they tend to decrease because the selection pressure is it's less harsh. Basically, if you live in like Eskimos, they're pretty damn like smart people because they have to They have to predict for their environment. They have to predict for winter, store food. They have to plan long term. Food isn't abundant. The weather is, weather is mercurial. It's going back and forth. They have fucking like darkness for like a whole month at a time that they have to prepare for. They can't go out and hunt. They have to. It's a lot more intellectually taxing environment. So naturally, it selects for that. I removed this from the post because it's like a politically incorrect thing to say, and it's people don't like hearing it's simple evolution, but people on the equator, then there's more attractiveness and strength. The physical strength is more selected for because those things give you more leverage in getting a mate. It's simple natural selection, and it's not. And intelligence matters all places. It's just trends. It's like up 1 to 5 point maybe 1 to 10 point differences like between 2 places, like. Pretty insignificant, to be honest. Like, within the realm of error of a test, so that should tell you enough that it's a trend, right? Like, some people are stronger, like some people are taller. The Dutch people are tall. These things exist. I'm not gonna qualify anymore because I don't think anyone. Oh no, I'm gonna write you up. I'm gonna report you, like some stupid shit. But yeah, so I said that, right? And I was really tentative about saying it. I had a qualifier after it. I was like, I don't condone racism at all. Diversity exists among populations, and it's a wonderful thing for the human race as a whole, because if some disaster happens, since with a diverse toolbox, maybe there's a chance that one population of people is specialized to deal with that disaster, and our race can survive because of this diversity. It's really good for it's good to be well-rounded as a species, and so I qualified it with that. I was like, and racism, obviously racism is a terrible thing, and like that's not something that should just hate someone on the basis of that. So yeah, that's obvious. But I was very like I was scared putting this stuff. Like I was like, oh god, like what's gonna happen? Like these are really smart people. That's the only way I'm
getting to be poop heads about that sort of a thing. People will, as soon as you say there are differences between human beings, some people go and grab their pitchforks and torches and vats of boiling oil and whatever. Actually, vats of boiling tar, some chickens to pluck and throw feathers at you, and yeah, that's the reaction of many people, because somehow particular sacred cow of theirs winds up getting
exactly, so I was tentative. Like I was qualified a lot. I had lots of positive reactions from all my posts, right? And again, I'm someone who doesn't make enemies usually. I have the FE. I have FE. So I'm good at saying things that other people can attest. And okay, so she said, but there
are some things that are so sacred that people will still get up in arms over it, just because for some reason they go and make certain attributions or certain connections in between certain word patterns or even topics that people will go and bring up in conversation.
It reminds them of something they don't like, Yep. And so, yeah, exactly. And so basically, what happens, this is who would come to the reason to talk about politics and this is a kid. So her son had scored like 99th to 100th percentile on the MCAT. I had described a little bit about PG-ness, like profoundly gifted, and she I fit those categories. So this is a smart person, and she wasn't like incensed by what I said. There was no like ad hominem attack. There was no. It's like part of your argument seems part of your post. She didn't comment on any other part of the post. She's like, part of your post seems to be begging the question: if they're so smart, why did they move to where it's harsher and colder? And I was like, well, the thing is, that's not the way selection works. What I said was, I was like, oh, well, what I would say... Okay, let me find the comment, because I responded with heavy FE.
Ultimately, the environment is what selects, or rather, the reproductive fitness of a certain person in a particular environment is what selects for a particular genes.
Yeah. She said, at first glance, in part of your analysis, you begging the question, why did some walk to the north when, as you admit, greener pasture? Might it indicate subpar intelligence to begin with? I said, I guess it's true that what they say about intelligent people not having common sense. And then that was my first joke answer. And then I said my other real answer would be that the selection for intelligence began once they arrived. So they didn't necessarily start out smarter in any discernible way. AKA, traits don't choose environment. Environment decides which traits are most attractive, and people do the rest. And so I put exclamation points, and I was all bubbly. And yeah, that she didn't respond. So she's never responded to anything I've said after her things. But
that's because people do realize when they're wrong. That's and if you do respond to somebody in that particular way, and you're not gracious or whatever, you just go and dig yourself a deeper grave. And she was at least smart enough to realize that anything she said at that point besides, oops, I'm sorry, I was wrong, or not even so much, I'm sorry, because it's not necessarily something to be sorry for, but I was wrong. Like, saying I was wrong is, or saying I don't know. Both of those things are often anathema for smart people.
Oh, yeah. No, so the right thing to do was not the right thing to do, but the thing that felt was the easiest for her to do was
shut down. Was to shut down as opposed to admitting error. Admitting error is, well, I think that part of the admitting error thing comes with the whole package of being labeled as smart your whole life. Is that if you're used to being right and having people seeing you be right, then being wrong is incongruent with the image that you are portraying.
To that,
and apparently some of the things like what you see as true, you attach your ego to that, right? So that's the reason that debate is so fruitless in many. Then what you identify yourself as being. How do you see yourself? Do I see myself as somebody that's almost always right? Well, if I get proven wrong, then that messes up with my self-image. And how do other people see you, or how do you think other people see you? Well, if you think that other people see you as somebody who's always right, and then all of a sudden you're going to be wrong, then you're going to get really defensive in order to try to maintain whatever opinion that you think other people have of you. And so with that
cognitive dissonance is.
It's incredibly basic stuff, and this is this is status monkey fifi stuff, but it's still very important when it comes to interpersonal interaction to be cognizant of that.
And it's everywhere. Here it is in this group of people who are 1 out of 1,000. That's the minimum. The bare minimum is 1 out of 1,000. So the average is probably somewhere a little bit higher than that.
And Mensa is 1 out of 50, right?
Yeah, Mensa is 1 out of 50. So these are 1 in 20 Mensas qualifies for this society. Okay, so it's and the only society above it has 100 members, because this is the medium, and it only accepts the Miller's analogy test. So it's really weird. So yeah, this one is this is the premier smart group of people, and there's these. It's these blatant, like it still exists quite, and the way they go about it is much different. It's not like some YouTube comment where someone's just going to throw shit at you and be an idiot. They will, they tried to point out a logical fallacy. They did begging the question,
So they will throw poo, but they just won't do it in an idiotic fashion.
Their poo will be, poo will be sculpted in some nice way, right? It'll look like, what is it? The statue of David, but it's just made of shit. So yeah, that analogy just hits dead on. Like it'll be some beautifully sculpted piece of shit. And yeah, these exist, and it's important to know. It's important that look, this is very universal to humans, and understanding this will gives you just kind of foresight in how you go about your interactions with people, and obviously with yourself, seeing what happens and say, hey, what am I doing? Hey, because you got to know when you're wrong, and you have to be able to correct that. You need to be. So this is so these kids, right? All these people, as you said in the gifted group, they've grown up being infallible.
And hardly ever challenged. Hardly ever challenged. You need to be able to be knowing and have adapted a healthy way of responding to being challenged, as opposed to shields up 100%, missiles out.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Agreed. Yeah. So they haven't been challenged. They've been right their whole life. They've been destroying school, getting her son got a 99th to 100%. I'm sure she's really smart and has done whatever. She's much older than me, by the way. This person's in their 50s. I'm 19. Okay, so there's
I keep on forgetting that when we talk. By the way.
Yeah. Exactly.
And also it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah. No.
I really don't give a crap.
Exactly. No, and no. I literally never think about. And there's no other I don't usually talk to I like talking to adults, but I wouldn't have close camaraderie with adults generally, 50-year-olds and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think about age at all. It's mostly the content that I'm here for. And I younger, older. I've never I'm not someone who cares. The diversity of thought and what someone brings to the table matters much more than the external features. That's why I could never fathom something like racism. I'm okay, they have a different skin color. Big whoop. This person is interesting and really cool. And I like hanging out with them. I don't give a shit. That doesn't mean anything to me. Means nothing to me.
It's the skin color, general bone structure, a proportion of type 1 versus type 2 muscle fibers.
Exactly. And
what in the world does that have to do with connecting as human beings?
If they have a different skin color and they can introduce me to, that's a plus. That's literally a plus. I actually, that's something cool where I can try out their food, and I can see what their home's like. I love seeing how it's decorated, what stuff they have, how it smells and stuff. What sorts of things do they consider integral and basic to their life that I can learn from, and what sorts of things do I consider integral and basic in my life that they can learn from? How do we exactly?
I mean, but then still, you don't want to have this whole forced multiculturalism BS, which is essentially people going and being forced into a particular place to interact with people that they don't want to interact with under terms that they don't decide. Sure. But it's if you decide that I'm going to go and spend time with X person, and that X person decides I'm going to go and spend time with Steven, well, then you have two willing participants being able to learn and grow together. And sure, probably you'll run into rocky patches just as any friends do at some point, but you get over it and you move forward in life and you act like mature human beings.
Yeah, and what I had been, the one thing I didn't cover, so these people, they've been correct their whole lives. This lady's in her 50s, or 40s or 50s. She has a son who's older than me, so yeah. And like, so there were some people I had some wonderful conversation with. There was one guy who was arguing. He's like, I don't have any of the overexcitabilities, and then he had
except intellectual.
Except intellectual, because he very well argued his position and was very analytical and very kind of
No, but this is just completely normal. Yeah, for
right.
you.
I'm like, yeah, that's you. Yeah, he's like, and then at the end, he's just these. He's like, regardless of if I have it or not, maybe it's just these overexcitabilities that I'm not so overexcited about. He was a funny guy. He had some funny comments. Like, I like this guy, and he's like, thanks for the discussion at the end. Like, this was a wonderful interaction. But yeah, so like these people. One thing that's lucky for me. This reminds me of a memory I was telling to my friend yesterday. And in second grade, okay, so I've had ADD to the point I've had pretty extreme ADHD my whole life. Obviously, it doesn't I suddenly got it anyway. So it just got. But anyway, I've struggled with very simple tasks, I struggled in school in certain ways. Obviously paying attention, directions. I suck with The teacher would say one thing, I would go off the other ear. I was reading an email from my mom. She was sending emails from my teachers from back in the day because they're funny now to look back at. And once, yeah, Steven, we put him in. He got in trouble for the same thing 3 times. He got same exact thing. He put him out, got up, and did it right again. No, that was probably me just thinking, this rule's stupid. I don't care about that. I'm just going to do what I'm doing and then suffer the consequences. That was probably that. But regardless, I did a lot of things because I didn't get the directions. I didn't understand. I would read directions, and my working memory would process them because there's nothing conceptual going on in the directions. It's just telling you to do things. It's step-by-step linear thinking. I suck dick at linear thinking. I really do. I was especially bad as a kid. I was so holistic that it was all or nothing. And with directions, if it slipped out of my working memory, it's all gone. And so I'm used to just fucking shit up. And I remember in second grade, my crush was in this other group with this guy. And I was looking at that group like, God, I'm jealous. God, if I was in the group with that girl, that'd be, I'm like, damn. What a lucky guy. And I was in this group with this girl, and the guy over there, our groups were kind of close, but we were talking to each other, and he's like, God, you're so lucky, Brianna. You have Steven. He's so smart. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm smart? I was like, no. I was reading the directions for the assignment. I was like, I don't get it. I'm confused. I don't understand what this is. Do you know what's going on? I couldn't read the directions and, process it. I just couldn't process things really well. I was very, very, very in a fugue-like state, and extreme asynchronous certain things. Certain things would happen. They're like, "What the fuck is going on with this kid?" My mom heard people talking in the barbershop. Some people she didn't know. She's like, "There's this boy, and the way he was speaking was someone 2 to 3 times his age." It didn't make. She's the psychiatrist in our town. She's like, "I've never seen a little kid like this. It doesn't it was jarring." And my mom's like. And she's talking. So this lady, my mom's just in the hair salon, hearing the conversation with these people. She's like, and my name was said, and she's like, "Did you say Steven Stutz?" And yeah. And she's like, "I'm his mom." So I had those sorts of things. And then on the other hand, I'd read directions. I didn't know what that meant. I'm very used to just being wrong, fucking up throughout my life. So I think that's given me at least some. I wasn't just the kid who was. God, look at these peons, these teachers. I can do integral calculus already, and I'm proving, I can prove Fermat's theorem, whatever. I wasn't that kid who had it all together. I was very off in the clouds, and I fucked up all the time. In fact, my primary method of learning is fucking up, and okay,
well, how do I not fuck up like that? That's actually the best way of learning, though.
Yeah. I agree.
Trial and error.
Yeah.
School is cancerous in that regard because it rewards never being wrong.
Yeah.
Which means that you basically don't ever get to be at the threshold where you will optimally grow and struggle.
Exactly. I'm looking at I was thinking of the homework assignments from this class I was in, and I would get I get questions wrong, and it's homework, and I'm getting penalized for messing up on practice. I'm and this is going towards my grade. I'm where do I practice problems without penalty? I would if you did a pre-homework thing, that would be nice, where I could practice the problems practice problems and get feedback without penalty. But I'm getting penalized for the first time I've even tried this concept.
Well, that's why
that's just fucked.
That's why you have to do what my dad suggested for if he were to ever teach a class.
Would it?
I
I know. Yep.
Well, I'll tell the people watching the stream, because this is, if ever I were a high school teacher or something, or even a university professor, I think that I would have put that in the syllabus as final exam worth minimum of 30% of your score. Final exam worth maximum 100% of your score.
Yeah, and
you get to determine attendance and class participation can be up to 10% of your score. Homework can be up to 70% of your score. And then you have like midterm can be up to 30% of your score. And you can have test 1 and then test 3 can be up to 20% of your score. You submit
I would love that.
to me what percentage you want out of all of these different things, and you determine what your grading thing is. I'll grade whatever assignments you throw my way, and tell me what weight these assignments are going to have, as long as they add up to 100% and fit the basic criteria. You do.
Perfect.
And you can take the final whenever you want. So you can go and say the homeworks are going to be worth nothing, but you still get your homework graded and get feedback. Great.
And
so you can screw up.
So I bet what your dad would do also is hand them a sheet at the beginning of the year that then they put weight and stuff. They probably have some Excel sheet and have each student and then the weight for each thing. So then he just enters the grade in the student's thing, and it spits back the grade. They how that affects their cumulative grade. I could see that being something he would do as well. I'll
just write a program for it.
Yep, here's the program. Okay, so this person wants this weight here, this weight here. Okay, just input the values. There you go. Here's the grading. Because other people would complain, be like, "Well, the grading would be so hard. Everyone has it different." No, it would not.
No, it would not be hard. So it's literally multiply A by B equals C, then add up C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, divide by 1,000. Oh.
Whoa. Yeah, wow. Exactly. So yeah,
or just have the dividing by 1,000 already being in the weighting for B or whatever.
Right. But instead, and I'm someone who's I learn by making mistakes. I have assumptions about things. I'll make an assumption. My assumptions are often wrong. I'm not very detail aware, etc. There's many places for me to be wrong. In fact, me making the mistakes helped me become aware of these details that I wasn't quite thinking about before.
So you could have been in my dad's class or something, and my dad would be like, "Okay, Stephen, you do your homeworks. I'll grade your homeworks. You're going to get 0 points for each and every single one of your homeworks, and 100 points for getting a 100 on the final or whatever." And but you can get all of the feedback that you possibly want from turning in all the assignments. And since you can turn in any assignment before it's due, you could go and do all of the homework. You could just go straight through the whole homework, get it back, get your grades, whatever,
and then practice your mistakes. Yeah, and then there you go. That would be perfect for me.
And then take the final week 2 or 3 of class, and then you don't ever have to show up to class again.
Yep.
And here's the thing: is the other part of this is, my dad would say, well, okay, if you want to do enrichment in something else. If you just want to sit in the back of the class and pick your nose, be my guest. If you want me to go and recommend you some other books or other resources or something, and I'll help you with something completely irrelevant to this class, you can do that during class time too. This class time is yours to do with what you want.
Just make it. I'm loving this imagined thing. I'm loving this idea so much that it when I come back to the real world, it's God, because when I'm interested in something, I'll tackle a course in 2 days. I'll go all the way through, just sit down, and that's all I'll do. I love attacking material that way. I hate parsing it out. I love just diving in and learning it all and getting that big picture understanding.
But then having 65 minutes to do this, and then 2 hours of homework, and then 65 minutes, and then 2 hours of homework, and 65 minutes, and 2 hours of homework. And
Sucks.
Then you're forced to get out of a flow state whenever you're in one by go to the next class.
Yeah, it's like, God, fuck that. Yeah, it's awful. And yeah, like you can't hit a flow state in school, really. It's just really not attainable. Yeah. Maybe for a short time, but that's not a flow state. A flow state would be.
And one other thing that, and I'll tell you this. This was with my homeschool.
Comment.
I'll look at the comments. What did it say? I think we need.
Wasn't that?
Yes.
Isn't the word you?
Yeah, autodidacy, the process of teaching oneself, but also if you actually put an E at the end instead of a Y, that would be some sort of a place or a course of study or something along the lines like a very loose institution or something if it were like autodidacy would be the process of doing it. Autodidacy with the E at the end would actually be that would be like
words we need definitely.
Yeah, we need to go and like appropriate Latin words to what it is that we're trying to do.
The fact that they don't exist says something about our society.
Well, you can say that tongue in cheek, but I'm actually going to say that seriously.
No, I agree. I do. Yeah. No, I do this thing where I say things tongue in cheek that I like actually mean seriously. I didn't fully intend that. I know it. The way I said it was a bit.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, no, I agree. Like that does say something about our society that we don't have institutions and like. So
one thing, like and I think I've talked about this before, is that when I was doing homeschooling, I basically had a list of stuff I needed to get done in a week, and as soon as I was done, I was done.
Yeah,
exactly. I could do whatever I wanted after that. But then part of those lists were, and I didn't even think about bringing this up because it was just such a natural thing, but I realized that it was often done in such a way that there was, X amount of material needed to be done by the end of the year. And so often I would go through and do all of one course. Then I would do all of the next course. Then I would do all of the next course and so on. So I didn't if I didn't want to go and break up my studying, I would just do the equivalent amount of a week's worth of work. A total week's worth of work, instead of 6 subjects, I'd do 6 times as much as I would in subject 1, and then I would do 6 times as much as I would in subject 2, and so on, and knock out the courses sequentially, as opposed to being done with all the courses at the exact same time at the exact same day at the end of the year.
Right.
And I think that would also be, really, really good.
That I would love that. I would love classes that. Yeah, I would love school because why does it have to be in consecutive? Like, why does it have to be?
Yeah, well, in that case, the school that I'm going to be starting after I'm done with the stupid mandatory military service would have been the school for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, because would
you like to teach there?
I honestly, yes. Like that would be a fun opportunity. Like I would be willing. Like if my circumstances allowed it, I would be fully willing to do that. That would be very interesting. At least at some point in my life, if we'll have a capital or a situation I can do that. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I like teaching, and I really I feel strongly about education. Like it really matters. It's something extremely important. I get some. Especially in the past year, I've developed my opinions on it much more, and it's it matters so much. I can't even say more than that, really. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And being able to go your own my schooling could have been it could have been sped up just so much. It doesn't help to go into kindergarten. You're going to kindergarten with with basically with kind of the standing of a 4th or 5th grader, and then just kind of rot. Like my reading level literally went down. 4th grade, I had third, 4th grade, I had a college reading level, 12.9 plus. 9th grade, I had an 11. It said 11th grade reading level. I hadn't done any reading. My vocabulary actually had decayed since I had stopped reading. And I was like, what? Like I looked. I was like, what happened? Like it was my friend too. My friend who I was talking to him yesterday. The same exact thing happened to him. 4th grade, he was hitting 11th to at college. He was hitting college reading level. 4th, 5th grade, around those times. His reading level went down after because there was no stimulation. Once he stopped doing the stuff on his own because of school stuff, it just decay. Like that's the opposite of what education should be doing, and
that's the opposite of what education should be doing, and exactly what schooling should be doing.
Yes.
What other context?
Homogenizing me.
In what other context does the word school exist?
Well, the first one, I schooled him, I schooled that dude. Yeah, I basically beat him.
Okay, so that's a
put him in his place. I put him in his place.
That's a colloquial. Yeah. That's a colloquialism. What about a more scientific term?
School of thought.
Okay. So that's a little more vague. So contextualize it with a more concrete example. I guess this might count, but psychology is a school of thought, I think. So yes. It's a type of Yeah. But what constitutes the schooling? What is a See, I don't want to give it away. If I give one hint, it'll give the whole thing away.
All right.
What if I just said a school of fish? What does that tell you?
Oh, okay.
What does a school of fish do? Who decides where the school goes? I don't know. What happens? There's just a bunch of fish going in the same direction.
Yeah.
So true, school of thought. Well, I don't know. Who decides where it goes? I don't know. Who decides where school is? Not me. Whoever it is that decides where, and that's why I really don't I'm all for education, and I am in most contexts against schooling, with the understanding of schooling being the idea of homogenizing a people such that you wind up getting a gigantic mass willing to go in the same direction.
That's what was happening. I was getting homogenized. I was beating more towards my grade level. I was getting pulled back, literally pulled back, just from going.
You were getting schooled.
Yep, I got schooled.
You were getting schooled. You were not getting educated. There's a big difference.
It's and it's that's horrible, right? My friend is here. Is it all right if I leave now?
I'm sorry. You said that you had an hour and a half ago. So let's close the stream for today. Tell your friend that I said hi, and I hope that you guys have a good time doing whatever it is that you're going to be doing.
For sure, yeah. I'll have to introduce you to him sometime, for sure.
Well, I mean, I can go and kill the stream now, and then we can go maybe chat for a couple minutes before you guys leave.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'll go get him.
Sounds nice. All right. Guys watching the stream, we'll see you later. Have a good